Hola amigos, esta semana os presentamos a Jon Boden. Él es nuestro invitado de este proyecto internacional en el que estamos trabajando, que se llama Global Music Match. Él es conocido como violinista, como cantante, como compositor, también toca la guitarra y lo que hace es música tradicional inglesa. So, we welcome you, Jon. Hi there.
Hi.
Hi.
Great to see you all.
My first question for you, it's you play English folk music. We want to know why folk and what is the connection. Are your family also musicians, or is because this is the music you listened when you were a child, or why did you decide, or why did you like English folk?
I started listening to different types of folk music as a teenager. So my family aren't musicians particularly. And I kind of listened to Irish music and a bit of Scottish music and then a bit of English folk music. And I just later on I kind of decided that I should stick to English music, not just because it's a bit more obscure. There's not so many people do English music. Irish and Scottish music is much better known. But there's something nice about playing music, tunes and songs that actually come from where you're from, I think, and so I got quite excited about that, I think.
For me, it's really amazing when I see you playing fiddle and singing at the same time, because it's more common play guitar and sing, but for me it's like amazing. And I wanted to ask you, when did you start to play fiddle, and how did you learn the same as with the singing? When you start to sing as singer,
Well, I started playing the fiddle when I was about 13, 14, having played sort of lead guitar in rock bands, and then I got into got interested in folk music, and I kind of thought playing the fiddle was a bit like being the lead guitarist for folk music. So I thought I better learn the fiddle, and then I started singing with the fiddle a bit later on when I was at university. It's kind of a thing that is done in English folk music a bit. There's quite a few fiddle singers, we're called, and people like Eliza Carthy and Seth Lakeman and Nancy Kerr and people. So it's kind of a thing, and it's it is quite difficult to get started with, but once you get into it, it's sort of it's quite good fun.
Hello, Jon.
Hi.
¿Qué es lo que más te gustaba de tocar en banda y qué es lo que más de tocar solo? ¿Qué te empujó a hacer tu carrera en solitario a la vez que tocabas con Bellowhead?
Well, I started my own stuff, I think partly because I wanted to do a bit more songwriting, and with Bellowhead we were quite specifically doing traditional stuff, and it didn't really make sense to do original songs with that band, so that was one of the reasons. And I guess I do like being a lead singer, so with Bellowhead I got to do the whole where you're not playing an instrument, you're just holding a microphone and you're just throwing your arms around and that sort of stuff, which is good, really good fun. And so I love doing that, but then there's also a kind of freedom about being solo where it's just you and the guitar or you and the fiddle, and you can kind of, when you've got a band the size of Bellowhead, everyone has to do exactly what they're supposed to do at the right time. So it all falls apart. So it was we had to be quite rigid about it, whereas solo you can do what you like,
I think we understand you very good.
Good.
You've composed a lot of music for many important theater plays. Which one do you remember with most love? Which was maybe the most special one for you?
Wow, it's a good question. I suppose I composed 2 scores for the Royal Shakespeare Company, which is sort of one of the big theatre companies and that was always my ambition actually, from quite a young age, was to compose for the Royal Shakespeare Company. So that was massive, really exciting to do that. So in a way, it was those. But on the other hand, I found that what I really enjoy is actually the smaller theatre productions, where particularly when the actors are having to play the music themselves, and working with actors, actor musicians and actors who giving one actor a tin whistle and saying, right, play this note, and another one, play this shaky egg or whatever, so that kind of stuff I really enjoy. So whereas with the RRC there were professional musicians playing the music, I actually kind of enjoy the smaller stuff where it's a bit more you're kind of making do with what you can get, sort of thing.
You have tell us, and you have tell your people, that you have been composing and writing new songs for a new album in quarantine, I think. So we want to know what did you learn this period, and if this incredible experience that I think we all have had or we are having, how did this affect to your music? And when are you planning to release your album, of course?
To release it. It was an album that started off being about a journey with two people, and actually during lockdown the album gradually turned into being about isolation, in fact. So I don't know if that was a coincidence or what, but it became very much an album about being alone, but being alone in a landscape, so there's quite a lot of stuff about nature in it, and it's the idea, sort of nature reclaiming ivy growing over buildings and that sort of thing. So that was quite kind of appropriate for lockdown, when fortunately I live in the countryside, so I could get out into the hills and stuff, and so I spent a lot of time alone. But you're never really alone when you're in nature, I think. So it's probably going to come out in February now. I've finished recording it, but I need to get some strings on it and stuff like that. So yeah, a bit more to do.
It's impossible to chat with you and not asking about a folk song a day.
Oh yeah.
Rock. I knew some of the songs because I teach my little students, and I knew some of the.
Oh right.
Yeah. So I want to know how came to your mind this idea, because this was like a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
But you are still with this project?
Well, I still tweet or put on Facebook every day a different song. I'm not re-recording them, but I'm sort of posting them up every day. Yeah, well, it came about because when I started playing and singing folk music, I was very much just doing it in the pub, and sitting in pubs and singing songs, often just unaccompanied. Or just playing the fiddle with a couple of other instruments, and that's kind of what I fell in love with. And then when Bellowhead were really going, getting quite successful, I was aware that we were slightly losing touch a little bit with where we come from. So we just, I was finding I couldn't go to the pub anymore and sing and play so much because we were on tour all the time or whatever. So I just thought it was a way of, putting a lot of the songs that I'd learnt from singing in pubs and just putting it in one place. And for people who maybe discovered English folk song through bands like Bellowhead, I thought it was quite useful for people to be able to hear it in a simpler form, because Bellowhead obviously was very, very complicated arrangements, and I think sometimes people feel that it's not accessible when they hear it, presented to them in that form. Whereas when you just hear sort of one voice singing or one instrument playing, it's a bit more accessible, and I think people feel that's something they can, that maybe they can do themselves. So that was kind of the idea.
Okay, so congratulations. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Sabemos que estuviste en España con Elisa Carty y con el dúo Spears and Boden. ¿Cómo fue el recibimiento de tu música en nuestro país, en España?
trip?
Yeah, oh, it was amazing. We stayed in Bilbao for 5 or 6 nights, and I think it was the government was sort of sponsoring us or something. I can't remember what the scheme was, but it was all. We were looked after fantastically and driven around to these amazing venues, beautiful art centres, and I played up on a hill in a castle one day. I mean, just beautiful, and the audiences were fantastic. They were quite small audiences. We weren't very well known in Spain, so it was a great privilege to come out, but they were just such wonderful audiences, and had a fantastic time. It was a really special tour.
How is now the situation in England about the COVID? If you can play there, if you have a tour, some album project, which kind of future do you see after all this situation?
Yeah, well, it's not good. We've just had another. The government's just locked it all down a bit more, so we've now got a maximum of 6 people is the rule. But in theory, venues can still go ahead with bigger audiences. But we're sort of waiting to see, really. I've got 2 gigs in November, which are sort of socially distanced gigs, and so we're hoping those are going to go ahead. But it's really difficult. I've had the tour cancelled and all the festivals cancelled, of course, and so hard for the venues as well. I mean, I sort of feel it's harder for the venues than for the musicians, because as musicians we can, you can always find other ways of performing. Maybe not right now, but performing online or performing outdoors. But a lot of venues are really struggling in England, and we're just hoping that they survive.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say goodbye to you. And before, we want to say to our people and to the audience that you are in all social media, Instagram, Facebook, especially Twitter. You are the king of Twitter, we know. You are now also in Patreon. That this is also very interesting for us, so that people know where to find you. We want to say thank you very much. It was very nice to talk to you. Actually, it's also very nice to listen to your music.
Well,
This global
likewise,
media
thank
give
you.
us this, and I think Rosé pretty enjoyed this combination she made with the fiddle.
Oh, that was amazing! Yeah, thank you for that.
It was
Yeah,
very
that was
beautiful.
fantastic, beautiful.
We hope to have the chance to play together with you very soon. I hope we can come to England soon. Actually, it's always in our plans. And if you want to visit Spain, you are totally welcome, because I think the combination with us would be very interesting. So we wait for you here.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds I'm totally up for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Take care.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
The broom blooms fast.